Welcome to this new video on Forza Horizon 6, where I'm bringing you some gameplay with the new featured car of the week.
This is the new 2024 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Well, new with very big quotation marks around it, and we'll talk about that in this video. We'll see what it's like.
Because in fact, this car has just arrived in the game and already seems to have a little problem.
Because the ZL1, actually, we already had it twice in Forza Horizon 6. We already had the 2017 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. So let me show you the car a little bit. You'll see that overall, it's basically 99% the same, except for 2 or 3 small details on the taillights, for example. Otherwise, it's the same car. I'll show you the interior, and you'll see the difference isn't obvious. We also had the Chevrolet ZL1 1LE, which is an even more powerful ZL1 with an aero pack specifically designed for the track, the aerodynamics, everything that comes with it. So here it's not the same. There are a few small differences, like the rear. The lights are still not quite the same. And now we have the 2024 ZL1, which is basically exactly the same car, except for the tail lights, which have a slightly different shape. It's not just a simple bar. There are 2 lights instead. And inside? Well, there's a slightly more modern screen, but otherwise, it's the same car. Even on the engine side, it's the same, it's the same V8 engine pushed to 650 horsepower. Now that's really cool, you can't complain about that. The V8, 650 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, it's still a combination that makes for pretty enjoyable cars to drive in Forza Horizon 6. But this car still feels like zero cost, zero effort filler. What I mean by that is, I think we're going to have a lot of cars in Forza Horizon 6. And that's already the case. We've seen this with the R8 and other models. Though I can't recall all of them, there are plenty of examples in the game. We'll probably see many duplicate cars like that in Forza Horizon. That means we're going to see quite a few cars coming to the game that are duplicates of cars we already have, with only tiny differences, like the production year of the car, for example. Here, for example, this is a 2024 car, while the other 2 Camaros I showed you are from 2017 and 2018. But these cars basically use, let's say, really the same base in terms of design. Which means, in my opinion, it allows the developers to add cars to the game without having to redo the whole physics model or all the modeling. Starting from a base that's maybe 60, 70, maybe even 80% the same. Basically, it's the same base in about 80% of cases. So it allows them to add cars to the game, let's say, without too much hassle. I think that's it. Another thing that's a little disappointing about this car. Now, it's true that it's still a car that's cool to drive, once again. It has the V8 sound with the supercharger. It's pretty easy to handle, and yeah, pretty fun to drive. Because it's a car that drifts a little, a car you can really feel through the steering wheel, for example. So that's actually quite enjoyable. On the other hand, what's doubly frustrating is that this car, even though it's more modern and just as powerful as the other 2 Camaros I showed you earlier, which really are its twin sisters, well, it's not as capable. It's a car that's at the beginning of Category 5, while the others are more in the middle. That's because this car is heavier, about 50 kilos more. Now, that's not really Forza's fault. I think that, in reality, this car is heavier simply because there are new technologies on it that didn't exist yet on the 2017 and 2018 versions. The interior and exterior equipment, which, of course, make the car heavier. But then in Forza Horizon 6, you have the choice between going to the dealership and buying, in just 2 minutes for a few tens of thousands of credits, a 2017 ZL1 or a 2018 ZL1. Both are really high performing. Or you can put yourself through the festival playlist, repeating the same events over and over, doing head-to-head races and completing challenges. That's it. We almost know them by heart because they're so repetitive. Just to unlock a car that's ultimately less powerful. And I have to admit that kind of annoys me a bit. But then, the car is fast. There's no problem with that. It's not a big deal. Once again, it's a car that goes 300 kilometers per hour, 0 to 100 in 10.3 seconds. And there you go. It's a fun car to drive, but, I mean, if you take a Camaro ZL1 or an older generation ZL1 ALE, it's the same thing to drive. So, we already had that feeling in the game. Well, then we'll see. Maybe in terms of upgrades and customization, this car might have more options than the older Camaros. What we're going to do, you know what, is we're going to take the older Camaros that I saved as favorites. We're going to look at their customization. We're going to check how high their performance index can go. And then we'll upgrade the new ZL1 to see if it has anything different and if it can potentially perform better. So here, this is the first ZL1 on it. We have the ugly Forza kit and the less ugly Forza kit. The light bars, possibly, and the Forza hood with 2 different finishes. There's a body kit. The kit, well, it's a Forza kit, so it has more aero and a slightly more extreme look. And it's a car that's going to have quite a few swaps. Notably, the possibility to switch to a V8 2050, 2,500 horsepower with all-wheel drive and everything that comes with it. It can make it all the way up to the R923 class overall. 1,500 horsepower for 1,540 kilos. So I'm going to install the setup like this. That way we can compare it later with the other upgraded cars. We're going to take a look at the ZL1 ALE, which technically should be even more powerful. Since it's the version, let's say, that's a bit more extreme. Let's put it that way. It's the same, we'll take a look. First of all, it has less customization than the base ZL1. However, it does have licensed customization, especially the Street Fighter kit, which is a real automotive brand, so that's pretty cool. Street Fighter L. So okay, that's pretty cool. It doesn't have the 500 horsepower swap, but it has other swaps that also let you go over 1,000 horsepower, I think. So it's a little less powerful, but it has a higher performance rating because it handles better. And it's also a bit lighter. So that's the ZL11LE. I'll repeat, it's a car that's already in the base game. And now we have the new generation, ZL1. Let's see what we can do with it.
Écoutez,
In terms of upgrades, and in terms of customization. Keep in mind, it might even have exactly the same kit. Or a mix of both kits. She has the Street Fighter kit, which we'll check out later. It does appear to be the same as the ZL11LE kit. It looks similar, though not exactly the same. We'll examine it more closely later. But if it is the same, again, to be clear, I'm not saying that's the case. We'll check that later. That means they even went as far as to reuse the custom parts from this car. So here's what we'll do. We'll check out the swaps later, just so we don't spoil ourselves too much. First, we'll fully upgrade it with the stock engine, before we go test and look at the swaps. All right, let's go. We'll test it before we fully upgrade it, to compare its performance with the ZL1 and the ZL11LE. Let's go. We're still in rear-wheel drive with over 1,000 horsepower. I believe the car is in S2 class, so not in R yet. But at the same time, it doesn't have four-wheel drive, nor much swap potential. And, well, at first glance, it seems fine. It doesn't seem horrible to drive. It's actually surprisingly maneuverable. It's true that when you drive an American car, you always expect a bit of trouble. Well, that's not really the case anymore. It was more true 40 years ago. Back then, American cars, they're really built for straight lines. But American cars have improved a lot in terms of handling over the past, let's say, 10, 15, maybe 20 years, around that time frame. Since American brands take part much more often now in a whole bunch of car racing championships that take place in Europe. The Nürburgring, GT3, and everything that goes with it. So it's true that American brands have stepped up. They've caught up a lot in terms of handling compared to European cars. So the American cars, it's true that they're real cars now. That might be heavier than European cars, that's true. But in terms of handling, they're really not any worse, actually. So it's true that the Camaro, in the end, the 2024 model, maybe that's where everything will come down to, right? Maybe it's a car that, on paper, isn't that impressive, but on the other hand, it's very easy to handle, because it's true, the car, driving it, it's like riding a bike. So it's really surprising, totally crazy. I don't feel like I'm driving a big American car, more like a Clio. It goes everywhere so easily, simply and effortlessly. On the other hand, it doesn't have a crazy top speed. It goes up to 310 max, so that's not amazing. Though, all right, let's check the other upgrades and see if we can get closer to the other two we reviewed. As for swaps, I think it'll be more like to match what's available on the other side. From the Camaro ZL1 So I'm taking a quick look at this swap. Because the 7704, it's not an engine you see often in cars. So I'm checking if by any chance it's not in the swaps. A small engine that might have some more extreme upgrades than the ones that would be offered on the other. That doesn't really seem to be the case. It'll get up to 800 horsepower. Okay. Well, the V8 6.2, we know it, the PDSC. It's the one that comes from the Cadillac. It's great. It exceeds 1,000 horsepower. The V8 5.5. That's a V8. Maybe European. I'm looking too. It's the same, and these swaps are rare in Forza Horizon 6 upgrades. Instead of showing you a swap and claiming it's the most powerful, which may not be true, we're still going to check the rest. There you go. We actually go up to 1,230 horsepower, which isn't bad. And then, so we have the Racing V8 7C32, which I think is still the biggest one we can get in terms of pure performance. So we're going to put it in. The four-wheel drive system. There you go. Now we'll take a look. The engine improvements. Maybe we'll outperform my expectations on the performance index. Either way, it will catch up to the regular ZL1. And almost at the level of the ZL1 LE, but with slightly worse handling on paper. So that could work against it. We'll have to see. I'm taking a look at that right now, my cars, sorting them by favorite. So it's the same body kit, so they actually went as far as to recycle it. The customization too, but the hood is different. But that's because I put on a custom hood. And indeed, it performs better than the ZL1 from 2017, but less than the 8.4 and all the rest. The rest, it's not necessarily noticeable because they're at 10, so above that, I don't count it. But, well, the ZL1 from 2024 seems to be less versatile than the ZL1 from 2018. While the ZL1 from 2018 isn't considered a rare car, which is still a bit of a shame, I'll take a look while we're at it. It's true that I haven't shown you the car's paint jobs before we go test it for performance. See a bit of what it has available, what it's got under the hood. There are a few options, that's true. I'll probably keep it gray. It looks good, but red would look nice on an American car too. All right, let's go. We'll see how it goes, if it's cool or not to drive. I think it should be. Overall, it was already pretty good before. Here we go. In any case, I hope this little video review of the ZL1 interested you. So, once again, to sum up, my opinion on this car is that it's not a bad car. I think it's a car that's pretty fun to drive. I think, though, that before adding duplicates or new versions of models we already have in the game, before updating certain lineups, by adding models that are, not even too different in age, since this car is only 6 or 7 years old and fairly new. There are cars in the game where we have ranges that are 10, 15, 20 years old. There are models we still don't have, even though they're highly requested by the community. So I clearly think that the game developers should have, or, well, they do what they want, or what they can. They should have prioritized adding other models, simply rather than adding another Camaro. Which is very cool, by the way, but which is, well, there you go, which should have been in the game for the season.
À la fin du jeu, sur la saison.
I don't know, 30, 35, 40, perfect, whatever. It would have gone smoothly. It would have been cool to see them modernize some, but here. 2026, 4 months after the game's release. While everyone is already complaining that the first 3 seasons of the game, the launch seasons, weren't great, well, it's not amazing. So let me know what you think in the comments. In any case, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe for the upcoming videos. Follow me on Twitch for the next live streams with Prime, and to support my Twitch channel for free. And use my Instant Stand gaming link, which you can find below this video. To buy your games cheaper while giving a little support, I'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Video. See you tomorrow for the next video on YouTube. Until then, take care. Bye.